Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Saturday, everybody. Hope your weekend and your day are going well so far. We've got a new day, which of course means a new NBA player prop video to share with you guys. I got a few picks for tonight's slate that I am excited to hand out. But first, guys, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, drop a comment down below, all that good stuff. We are on the road to 100,000 subscribers here on the channel, and we are over the 60,000 mark, so we are more than 62% of the way there. And with your help, every time you hit that subscribe button down below, we get just a little bit closer. So help us out and hit that subscribe button down below. Quick recap of last night's video. I don't have a graphic for today's video. We gave up 4 straight props, and then obviously our Freaky Friday 5-leg parlay. On our straight prop segment, we went 2-2 yesterday. Not great, not bad. Pascal Siakam over 29.5 points plus rebounds. That was a cash. Brendan Podziemski over 3.5 assists. That was a miss. He finished with 2 assists. We also had Chet Holmgren over 19.5 points plus assists, which that was a tough one because he finished with exactly 18 points and 1 assist, so we literally missed it by 1 point/assist. Really bad beat on that one. He only ended up playing like 27 minutes versus Toronto. You got to assume he played a little bit more, even like another minute or two, he probably would have hit it, but it is what it is. In hindsight, we probably should have taken the points plus rebounds, but we did take the points plus, so we missed by 1 on that one. And the other straight prop that we did hit was Karis LeVert under 16.5 points. He finished with exactly 16 points, so that was kind of a sweat. We did end up hitting that one. So you see how gambling works. You know, the Chet Holmgren point plus assist, we kind of get burned by 1, but we also get saved on the Karis LeVert prop by 1. So it kind of works out, I guess, in our favor in the end. On the 5-leg parlay, we did not hit the parlay. 3 out of 5 legs cashed. The 2 legs that didn't, we obviously took that Chet Holmgren over 19.5 points plus assist prop, which, and I was so close to taking the alternate line and shaving a point off. I was like, you know what? What's 1 point? And that's why sometimes when it comes to parlays, shave the extra point. Take the odds a little bit lower if you can. It's better just, like I said, if we shave that 1 point off, that's a hit on that leg there. But so we missed on that one. And then Ivica Zubac, we had him over 17.5 points plus rebounds. He was on pace to absolutely crush the line, except he was in foul trouble. He only ended up playing 18 minutes. He finished with 5 fouls. Was in foul trouble most of the night for the Clippers. Finished with 6 points and 8 rebounds, was 100% shooting from the field, and only 3 shots. But he had 14 points plus rebounds in 18 minutes. Again, if he had played his normal, 25 plus minutes, you got to assume he would have absolutely cashed the line. So that was a tough one for us. But Karis LeVert under 18.5 points. We did take the alternate on that one, which we didn't actually need, but it did still hit for us on that. We took Brandon Podziemski instead of the assist line. We took him over 10.5 points plus assists. That one did cash. And then the third leg that we did hit was a Tobias Harris under 18.5 points. That one, he took 18 shots, but had a horrible shooting night, so it actually helped. I think he finished with 16 points. So 3 out of 5 legs hit again. So overall, parlay and straight prop record yesterday, we went 5-4. Again, it's not great. At the end of the day, we lost the parlay, but 5-4 overall on our props yesterday. But without that out of the way, guys, we've got a few props today. We don't have as long as a video or as many props as we've had the last couple of days, but the NCAA tournament going on, I know you guys are mostly betting college basketball right now, and so I have a few props, but not a ton. We have 4 straight props and then a 3-leg parlay to close out today's video. With that out of the way, guys, let's dive right in. All right, guys, for the first prop I'm going to hand out for today's slate of games, we're targeting the Suns-Spurs game, which kicks off at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going with Grayson Allen of the Phoenix Suns over 13.5 points. Let's go ahead and kick this over to the Outlier screen, guys. You know what Outlier is. They are the best sports betting tool on the market. Link in the description below, 7-day free trial to try it out for yourself. I promise you guys, you will not regret it. Outlier, it truly is the best sports betting tool. And with baseball coming up, daily player props for baseball. They also have straight game information, all the information you could possibly need for betting on sports. This tool has. If you've been here before, you watch my videos, you know I use Outlier on every one of my videos here to help make my picks. And so it really is a fantastic tool. It gives you so much insight, so much data, and it takes what could possibly take hours of research, and it kind of consolidates it into an easy, all-inclusive place where it has almost everything that you could possibly need. Again, it's not the only tool that I use, but it is the tool that I use the most. So one more time, guys, link in the description below, 7-day free trial to try it out for yourself. You got nothing to lose. Try it out for 7 days. If you don't like it, which I don't think will happen, but in the event that you do not like it, you just cancel your subscription. You don't have to pay a thing. But if you like it, you can obviously resubscribe and become a subscriber to Outlier and win some money. All right, guys, let's jump right in then. So Grayson Allen over 13.5 points. You see here, the data is pretty good over his last 10. 7 of his last 10 games, he has cashed this over with some pretty big scoring events. You see here against Philadelphia on March 20th, he had 32 points, 25 points against Milwaukee on the 17th. You see here back on March 5th versus Denver, 28 points. So you see he's had some pretty big scoring games for Phoenix. If you stretch the data to his last 20 games, it's not as impressive, but still not terrible. 50% hit rate, 10 of his last 20 games. You look at the minutes here, a lot of it has to do with the minutes played. Now, he's been averaging almost 36 minutes a game, but you see some of these games here, like this game versus Detroit, he only had 9 points, and he only played 26 and a half minutes. So the more minutes he plays, I do think the hit rate is a little bit higher for him. On the season as a whole, a 42% hit rate, 27 out of 64 games this year. He has cashed this over, which I know isn't the best, but it's still not terrible. What we like here in this game here, guys, is the matchup. In each of the last 2 times he's faced off with San Antonio, both being this year, on November 2nd of this season and October 31st of this season, he cashed the over both times. Back on October 31st, he had 19 points, and on November 2nd, he had 16 points. I don't expect much different here. Overall, on the season, the San Antonio Spurs are a bottom 5 team defensively against opposing teams, giving up 119 points per game. But when you look specifically versus the shooting guard position, they are bottom 2 in the NBA on the year, giving up 29 points per game to opposing shooting guards. Over the last 15 games, San Antonio are not as bad defensively against the shooting guards as they've been on the season, but they are still, over the last 15 games, a bottom 10 team defensively against the shooting guard position. So whatever way you want to paint it, they're not very good at defending the perimeter against these guards. And this is just kind of a game where I feel like Grayson Allen could definitely cook here. The point total is fairly high for a team that, the Phoenix Suns are a 10-point favorite here, and the point total is fairly high. Now, look, the spread being set, at -10 doesn't necessarily mean that 100% the Suns will win by 10 or more. But I am expecting a blowout here. The Spurs are on the second night of a back-to-back. They just played Memphis last night. I'm not expecting them to have a fantastic performance here tonight. This is data showing Grayson Allen this year in games where Phoenix wins by 10 or more points. He has a 59% hit rate this season when Phoenix wins by 10 or more. 13 out of 22 games this year, he has cashed this over. So what that makes me think is that when they win big, he typically plays a ton of minutes, minus that one game here versus Miami only played 13 minutes. For the most part, he's playing a lot of minutes in these big wins for Phoenix. So we don't have to be afraid about blowout potential, which is a huge thing this year to worry about when it comes to props. You look down here, insights, which is a really cool thing that Outlier provides. Grayson Allen has exceeded 14.5 points in 5 of his last 6 games on the road. He's averaging 19.8 points per game on the road over his last 6 games. And just to show you guys that, he has actually cashed this over in 6 consecutive road games for Phoenix, dating back to February 23rd. So on the road, he's been playing even better. I really do like the spot for this first prop of today's slate. All right, guys, for the second prop of today's slate, we're targeting the Jazz-Rockets game, which kicks off at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We're going with Fred VanVleet of the Houston Rockets over 26.5 points plus assists. Now, the last 10 game data is not bad. 7 of his last 10 games, he has cashed this over, which is pretty good. But the season numbers are not fantastic. On the 2023 season as a whole, a 45% hit rate, 28 out of 62 games this year, he has cashed this over, which is not fantastic, not terrible, but it's not fantastic. But why I'm betting this is 100% the matchup. Now, you look at the head-to-head. The last time he played Utah, the only time he played them this year, on January 20th, he had 18 points and 7 assists. So he just missed this mark the last time they played. But why I'm betting this number is the Utah Jazz defense. Now, on the season, Utah has given up the most assists in the NBA to opposing point guards, giving up 9.8 assists per game. Now, on the season for points scores allowed, Utah actually about middle of the road, giving up just shy of 24 points per game. But again, thanks to our friends at Fantasy Pros, we can make a look at a more narrow view of who the worst defensive teams in the NBA are against the point guard position. And over the last 7 games, the Utah Jazz are the worst defensive team in the NBA against opposing point guards, giving up 29.56 points per game. And if you want to go a little bit deeper with the data, over the last 15 games, they are the 6th worst team in the NBA in terms of points allowed, giving up 25.5 points per game and 8.3 assists per game over the last 15 games. So what that tells me is this is one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA over the last 15 games or so against point guards. I think VanVleet could absolutely feast in this matchup here. And when you look at the total, now the Rockets are an 11-point favorite in this game, but the total set at 228.5, which means Vegas is expecting some scoring to go on. I expect most of that, especially if it's an 11-point win, will come from the Rockets side of things. It's just such a great matchup for VanVleet. I have to bet it. All right, guys, the third prop of our straight prop segment here. We're going with the Kings Magic game, which kicks off at 7 p.m. each time. We're going with De'Aaron Fox of the Sacramento Kings under 29.5 points plus rebounds. Now, at a first glance, the data is not terrible. 5 of his last 10 games, he's cashed this under, and you see a couple times he's just barely he just barely missed cashing this line. But actually, on the 2023 season as a whole, a 41% hit rate, 25 out of 61 games. Again, not fantastic. A lot of those covers, though, on the over side of things came earlier in the year. What's important here is the head-to-head matchup. Each of the last 2 times he's faced off with Orlando, he cashed this under big time, including the last time they played on January 3rd in what was a 3-point win, a high-scoring affair. He only had 15 points and 4 rebounds. He played 44 minutes in that game versus Orlando, and it was a high-scoring affair, and he only had 15 points and 4 rebounds. He did not have a great game shooting from the floor in that performance. But yeah, it's a great defensive matchup here. You look at Orlando on the season. They are a top 10 team defensively in terms of points allowed to point guards, giving up just 23 points per game. And they are the second best defensive team in the NBA in terms of rebounds allowed to opposing point guards, giving up just 5 rebounds in total to the point guard position per game. And if you want a narrow look at things, over the last 7 games, the Orlando Magic have the 6th best defense in the NBA in terms of points allowed to the point guard position, giving up just 21.76 points per game to opposing point guards. When you take into account the last 2 times he only played 28 minutes on January 9th of last year when he cashed his under. It was a blowout win for Sacramento. But this was the one that really stuck out to me, the fact they played this year, a couple months ago. He had 44 minutes in a high-scoring game, and he only finished with 15 points and 4 rebounds. I like the spot here for De'Aaron Fox. All right, guys, and for the 4th and final prop of our straight prop segment here, we're targeting the Nets-Knicks game. We kick off at 1 p.m. Eastern time. We're going with Cam Thomas of the Brooklyn Nets under 25.5 points plus assists. Now, I know my video comes out a little later in the day, so I apologize if there's not a lot of time to get this one in. But if you're watching this video and you can get this pick in time, it is a pretty good spot to bet here. Cam Thomas under 25.5 points plus assists. You see, he's cashed in 6 of his last 10 games. Over his last 20 games, a 55% hit rate, 11 of his last 20 games. On the 2023 season as a whole, a 58% hit rate, 32 out of 55 games this year. He has cashed this under. And you look at that head-to-head data, each of the last 6 times he's faced off with the New York Knicks, he has cashed this under, including the 2 times he's played them this year on December 20th. He just barely cashed it, but still cashed. And the last time they played on January 23rd, he had 14 points and 2 assists. And look, it makes sense. On the season, the New York Knicks, to the right side of the screen there, they're the 3rd best defensive team in the NBA in terms of points allowed to the shooting guard position. And they are top 10 in assists allowed, giving up just 6 assists a game to the shooting guard position. And if you narrow that data down to the last 7 games, the New York Knicks are actually the best defensive team in the NBA against opposing shooting guards, giving up just 13.89 points per game to opposing shooting guards. Defensively, they have been fantastic. Cam Thomas is just a chucker. He doesn't really take high-quality shots. He just shoots a lot, which obviously is kind of scary sometimes. But with all this clean data, all this green here, I do really love this prop. So I know it's late. If you guys can get this prop in before the game starts, try your best. I really do love this spot. All right, guys, so that is it for our straight prop segment. We're now moving on to the player prop parlay segment. Show note, I did decide while recording to add a 4th leg to this parlay. So I said 3-leg parlay. It's now going to become a 4-leg parlay. Sometimes you got to throw an audible in there. I saw a prop I really liked, and so I added it in the parlay. So here we go, 4-leg parlay. Let's go. All right, first leg of our 4-leg parlay. Let's kick it back to the outlier screen here. This prop, this was the one that I just added while we were recording. After looking at the De'Aaron Fox straight bet that I had, I decided, you know what, I really do like that prop. Let's throw this one in the mix as well. So this is an alternate line. It's not exactly the same prop. This is De'Aaron Fox under 26.5 points. And look, the data is pretty strong. 7 of his last 10 games, he's cashed this under, including 5 in a row. Over his last 20 games, a 55% hit rate, 11 of his last 20 games. And the 2023 season as a whole, again, not great. 48% hit rate on the under, 29 out of 61 games. He has some high-scoring games here and there. But again, the head-to-head data, you look at each of the last 2 times he's faced off with Orlando, including that game we talked about earlier this year when he had 15 points. All the data I gave you before, it all rings true here. So I do love this prop for the first leg of our 4-leg parlay. For the second leg of our 4-leg parlay, we're going back to the Rockets-Jazz game. We're going with Fred VanVleet over 8.5 assists. The data over the last 10 games is a little bit stronger. He has cashed this in 8 of his last 10. The season data, still not fantastic for VanVleet. But again, it's a matchup thing for me. On the year, the Utah Jazz are giving up the most assists per game to opposing point guard, just shy of 10 assists per game to opposing point guards, excuse me. And you look at the last time they played, he only had 7 assists, so he missed it. But he did have 14 potential assists in this game. Again, the Rockets are 11-point favorites here. There's going to be some points scored. It's going to come from Houston's side. I think VanVleet absolutely can get this 8.5 assist line. If you go down a little further to 7.5 assists at minus 250 odds, I know it's a lot higher, but the data becomes a lot better. He's cashed this line in 9 of his last 10 games. Over his last 20, it goes to 55%. And on the season as a whole, it goes to 53%. So if you're willing to sacrifice a little bit of the value of the parlay here and shave another assist off, the data becomes a lot more convincing. I'm going to take the 8.5 assist line, take the risk. But again, you can play it a little safer and go with 7.5. Any further you go down, though, you're going into really crazy odds. So I wouldn't recommend it. I would go as low as 7.5 assists. All right, guys, third leg of our 4-leg parlay. We're going back to that Suns-Spurs game, back to Grayson Allen, but similar to Fred VanVleet, instead of taking the point prop, we're taking the assist prop here. Grayson Allen over 2.5 assists. This is an alternate line at minus 146 on FanDuel, minus 150 on DraftKings. He has cashed this line in 7 of his last 10 games. You stretch that down to his last 20, 65% hit rate, 13 of his last 20 games. He's cashed this over. And on the season as a whole, a 64% hit rate, 41 out of 64 games, he has cashed this over. And you look at the head-to-head data here. Each of the last 2 times he's played the Spurs this year, he has cashed this over. And on the season, San Antonio is giving up the most assists allowed in the NBA to opposing shooting guards, giving up 7.6 assists per game to opposing shooting guards. I love this prop. Really solid data here for the third leg of our 4-leg parlay. All right, guys, for the fourth and final leg of today's parlay, we're targeting the Raptors-Wizards game, which kicks off at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We're going with Kyle Kuzma of the Wizards over 22.5 points. Again, data is strong here. 8 of his last 10 games, he's cashed this over. You stretch that to his last 20 games, a 70% hit rate. 14 of his last 20 games, he's cashed this over. On the season as a whole, a 50% hit rate, 33 out of 66 games, not too bad. And on the head-to-head data, 2 of the last 4 times he's faced off with Toronto, he's cashed the over, including 1 time this season. Back on November 13th, he had 34 points. If you watched my video yesterday, you know the Raptors are a very good defensive matchup here. Versus the center position, they are bottom 6 on the season, giving him 19 points per game. Versus the power forward on the season, middle of the road, giving him about 24 points per game. But again, thanks to our friends at Fantasy Pros, over the last 7 games, the Toronto Raptors are giving up the second most points to opposing centers in the NBA, giving them 29.15 points per game to opposing centers. No Jakob Poeltl, obviously. The Raptors are very injured right now. No depth. Kelly Olynyk is their starting center. Kuzma, who on the Wizards, who are also pretty banged up. Kuzma does play a lot of minutes at the center spot for Washington. But even if you flip it to the power forward side of things here, Toronto bottom 5 in the NBA, giving up 25 points per game to opposing power forwards over the last 5 games. So whatever way you want to swing it, whether he plays power forward, whether he plays center, they are bottom 5 in both categories. So I think for him to score 23 points here is a pretty safe bet. He's been doing a lot lately for Washington, especially with all the injuries, that he is their offensive weapon. And Jordan Poole, who's also a game-time decision tonight. I think this is as close to a guaranteed hit as you can get. So, guys, that is it for the 4 legs of our 4-leg parlay. Quick little recap here. Grayson Allen over 2.5 assists. Fred VanVleet over 8.5 assists. Kyle Kuzma over 22.5 points. And De'Aaron Fox under 26.5 points. You parlay all 4 of those legs together, you get a 4-leg parlay of plus 607 odds. Not too bad if you ask me. A little bit more value. Again, if you saw what my original parlay was before the Fox prop, it was a 3-leg parlay for plus 340, but now we make it a 4-leg parlay for plus 607. So, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. Make sure, again, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, drop a comment down below, all that good stuff. Again, no video tomorrow, unfortunately. I don't do videos on Sundays. But until Monday, when I will be back with a new player prop video, guys, I hope we're all winners. Enjoy your weekend. Have a good one.